This lesson is on synthetic division. And when you hear the word synthetic, what do you think of? Pardon? Fake. Some people think of artificial, man-made. When you think about fabrics, things that are natural would be things like wool and silk and cotton. They are natural. They are also high-maintenance fabrics, just like long division was a high-maintenance operation. Synthetic division is more like polyester. It's really easy to take care of. I would like for you to let me do this problem without you taking notes. Okay, you're probably willing to do that. And I'm going to do this problem twice. The first thing I'm going to do is pretty rapidly, I'm going to do it by long division because I want to know what the answer is. And I want to convince you of a few things. So pretty rapidly, I have, how many times does x go into x squared? X times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Change the signs. Whoops, it's supposed to be in red. That's gone. That gives me negative 4x, and I bring down the minus 4. What do I have to multiply x by to get negative 4x? You say negative 4. Negative 4 times that is negative 4x. Negative 4 times 1, negative 4. Moving way too fast. Okay, didn't happen in red. 0 remainder. Is that okay? All right. Now, what do you think of all of the places that somebody could mess up? What do you think the most likely place is? Right there, in changing signs. So, and I do not know who the mathematician was that created this, maybe it was a group, they said, you know, that sign change in for subtraction, that causes trouble. So let's figure out a way to do it without doing that. They take the divisor and they say, you know what, I don't even think we need the x anymore. Let's just use this and let's change its sign. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to change its sign to negative 1. Believe me, this looks very weird at first. Very, very weird. That's the only time I have to change a sign. Now, when I get through with this lesson, at first you're going to think, well, why did you torture me with long division when this is so much easier? The reason is synthetic division cannot be used to replace all long division. Just the long division when you're dividing by plain old 1x plus or minus a number. If I were dividing by 3x minus 7, I couldn't use synthetic. But we're not going to worry about that in this class. We'll worry about that in college algebra. Okay? So we're going to change that one sign. Now, something else that's a little weird is I'm going to draw my division box backwards. Well, you know, since I didn't include the x in the divisor, I'm not going to include the x in the dividend either. All I'm going to write down are the coefficients. I'm going to write down, what's the coefficient of x squared? 1. And I'm going to make myself a little note. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to put that was for x squared. What's the next coefficient? Negative 3. That was an x. All I do is worry about the coefficients. And the last is the constant. And I'll just put C for constant. That looks really weird. I changed the sign on that divisor number, and then I only wrote down the coefficients. I leave a blank and draw a line. I need to always bring this number straight down, whatever it is, bring it straight down. Now, in division, once you've, by the way, your answer shows up down here, don't you then multiply? Well, we're going to multiply. What's 1 times negative 1? 1. Negative 1? 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And I'm going to write it down in the next spot I could write something down. And I'm just going to add, because I've already done my one sign change. So I'm going to add those. That's negative 4. Then I'm going to multiply. Negative 4 times negative 1 is 4. And I'm going to add for 0. And you know what? I finished the problem. And you didn't feel at all like you did any division. Okay, now let me show you. When you went from the original polynomial problem into the synthetic division form, you dropped off all the letters, didn't you? Well, when you write down the answer, you've got to recover the letters. When you divide, look back over here, when you divide, if you divide into x squared, didn't your answer have 1 degree power lower? It went 1 lower. This was x squared, this was x. That means that if this is x squared, this will always be 1 degree lower. This will be 1x. This will then be the constant, minus 4. This is always the remainder. The answer is 1x minus 4. Was that the answer you got over here? Yes. Now, I know that that was not enough for you to have a vaguest idea what to do with synthetic division yet. We just need to do some problems. Things to remember. Sign change. Writing down coefficients only. Bring down the first number. From there on, it's multiply, write it down, add. Multiply, write it down, add. Then recover your answer. If everybody will kick in with me, let's do problem number 2. Okay. This problem, so that you can read it easily, is x to the third minus 11x squared minus 9x plus 2 divided by x minus 3. Keeping in mind that I need to start out by doing my sign change, what am I going to divide by?
Plus 3?
Okay, do I need an x?
No.
Nope, just 3. Sign change. Everybody see where I did the sign change? Okay, now I put the box backwards around the 3. I write down coefficients only. What's the coefficient of the x cubed term? 1. X cubed. Now, if you were to look at somebody do this formally, they would not put an x cubed up there. That's just a little reminder for us. What's the coefficient of the x squared term? Negative 11. What's the coefficient of the x term?
Negative 9.
And what's the constant? 2. So does everybody have the 3 in the box backwards, then a 1, negative 11, negative 9, 2? Leave a blank and draw a line. Always, always bring down the first number. That's your starter. Everything is multiply, write it down, add it. So multiply 1 times 3 is 3. Write it down, and now add. What's negative 11 and 3? Negative 8, isn't it? And then repeat. Multiply negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. Add for negative 33. Multiply negative 33 times 3 is negative 99. Add for negative 97. I suggest that you immediately box in the last answer because that's your remainder. You want to remember that. If this problem started as an x to the third, what will its answer start as? X squared. This is 1x squared minus 8x minus 33. I'm not quite finished because I have a remainder. You notice how I went from a square to the plain x to the constant. You drop down 1 power each time. Now, because the remainder is negative, I'll put minus. I'll put 97 over. It needs to be the original divisor, x minus 3. Done. Yes, sir.
You would multiply everything by 3.
Yes. In this problem, when you bring down that first 1, it's 1 times 3, write it down, add. Negative 8 times 3, write it down, add. Negative 33 times 3, write it down, add. Okay? Is this, when you get the hang of this, can you see how it's so much easier than long division? Super easier. But there's a lot of steps to remember. All right, this problem is 19x squared minus 19 divided by x plus 2. Using synthetic division, what will I divide by? Negative 2, because that's where I change the sign, and I only do it that one place. All right, what is the high power inside here? X squared, x squared. So I'm going to have 19, which will be my x squared. Well, what about for my x? It's going to be 0, because I don't have an x term. So that's my placeholder. And then what's my constant? Negative 19. So look back at this polynomial. Do you see that it's missing an x term? That means that you have to have a placeholder of 0. All right, would you do the synthetic division? Y'all go ahead. You do it. If you did the problem, I was doing it silently, I brought down the 19. 19 times negative 2 is negative 38. Add it to the 0 is still negative 38. Multiply negative 38 times the 2, it's positive 76. 76 and a negative 19 gives me 57. Now, it's great to do all that, but you have to be able to recover the answer as a polynomial. If the original was second degree, x to the second, what will the 19 be a coefficient of? Plain old x. Then minus 38 plus the fraction over x plus 2. And there's my answer. If you printed the class notes, you had numbers 4 and 5, which will be skipped, and they're gone out of MathLab. Let's just do this, perhaps one more problem. This is a multiple choice problem. And it says 13b squared plus 9b minus 2 plus 4b squared, 4b cubed, divided by b plus 2. What will I write as the divisor? Okay, it will be a negative 2. Now, when I start to write the dividend, the coefficients of the dividend, what's supposed to come first, the high power or just any old power? The high power. So as I look across these, this was written in a very poor form, because what is the high power? B to the third. So I need to start with a 4. And that will be for b to the third. Next will be 13, which is b squared. Next will be 9, which is b. And finally, I'll have a minus 2, which is the constant. So I wanted to call your attention to that. How do you do the synthetic division? What do you do as your first step? Bring down the 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 13 minus 8 is 5. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Add for negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. Add for 0. And that's my remainder. Since the original dividend started as a b to the third, what will the answer start as? B squared. So it'll be 4b squared plus 5b minus 1, and there is no remainder this time. Seven and 8 are more of the same. Okay, we did a ton today. So we're going to call 5.7 finished, and I want to make a couple of class announcements.